Hey, how goes it? Ken Bozak here to talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin accessories. And today I'm here with Mike Aldi, and we're going to be talking about Digibyte. You can check it out at digibyte.io. Hey, Mike, how goes it?
It goes great, man. How you doing today?
I'm enjoying the day. I had a really good night last night. I was playing a bunch of blockchain games, and I left the battlefields a victor. So I woke up with like that Rocky Balboa like pump today. I'm like, I could take on the world, but it was just a video game. But still.
So you feeling, man? That's great. Yeah, it's I'm doing good too. It's a little early here on the West Coast. I had kind of a long night myself for different reasons. One of my kids, he got a little sick, so
Aw.
not quite as scrubbing vomit out of the carpet, not quite as fun as video games, but
Hey, if it didn't leave a stain, that's a victory all on its own.
that's right. Yeah. So thank you, Resolve. You make life a little easier in those moments. No, man, I'm doing
Resolve,
great.
putting stain remover on the blockchain, coming 2020.
Yes. I like the sound of that, man. I think you're onto something with that.
Yeah, you could put the proof of stain on the blockchain. And
Oh, boy.
so, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience? Maybe let them know a little bit about yourself, and maybe segue into how you got into crypto to begin with. And you can wrap up with what you're doing now in the industry.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my name is Mike, and I do marketing on the side for the Digibyte blockchain, which is a completely open source blockchain. So I have a background in video, so I do some YouTube videos. Also do some live presentations at local meetups and universities here in Southern California. I'm here in Los Angeles. And yeah, I've been into crypto for about a year and a half. And originally, I got into it just like a lot of people, just wanted to make some money. Came for the Lambos, but decided to
Came for the
stay for
Lambo, stayed for the
revolution.
freedom.
Absolutely, yeah. So once I was able to get to a point where I was able to really wrap my head around, well, what is this really all about? And you dive into it, you see, oh, well, this really is some life-changing stuff, and I wanted to be in on it, and was looking for an avenue to do that, and Digibyte allows you that opportunity to do that. Someone like myself who doesn't have maybe the background in order to just get hired on to a company, I can just create my own position. Really, I mean, I'm not whatever that is.
It's like
Um,
evangelistic and self-employment, I think.
well, yeah, I mean,
It's like you
there's
just walk into the store and you start working. You know what I mean? Like, what are you gonna fire me? You didn't even hire me.
right, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's funny because you can just go around and call yourself the CEO of Digibyte, and there's no one there to really stop you, right? So, uh, but I try to do what I can to contribute to the marketing. Like I said, my background is in video, um, and so I try to either make videos for YouTube or create videos of other people's content to create what I call Twitter vids. As you create like a little like 2.5 minute uh, video that you can post to Twitter, and other things. What you listen, you do what you can when you can, because we all do this just kind of on our own time. Because you've got work, you got life, and trying to find that work-life crypto balance is often times a challenge.
Yep.
But it's been a great ride. I've learned so much about just the blockchain industry, about the technology behind it, what it can do,
How did you
and
stumble into Digibyte? Were you like looking into Bitcoin, or did Digibyte? What came first, the chicken or the egg? Like, how'd you stumble onto, Digibyte so hard?
Man, I FOMO'd into it, really. To be honest with you, it was really my first coin that I bought. Well, aside from Bitcoin, of course. So, I'd heard about Bitcoin years ago, and just kind of brushed it off. I looked at it as, I'd always been had been a big fan of sound money. I've been stacking gold and silver for a number of years. And but when I first heard about Bitcoin, I thought, I went into Admiral Akbar mode, like, it's a trap. Like this is just another trick of the cabal. They're just setting this up. And so I didn't really pay attention to it much there at the beginning, which I regret, of course. Would have been nice to get in on back when it was like,
Well,
10 cents or whatever.
to be
But
fair, this is a really hard concept to really wrap a mind around that has been really conformed and conditioned to a debt-based currency. Get rid of your money before it's worth less at the store and stuff like that. That whole concept that they can just print more fiat, and now you're telling me that there's this limit on currency and there's proof of work and I don't get it. So I don't, yeah, I totally was the same way when I first heard about it. And then I kind of like researched just a little bit more into like, how does this all work out? And I just fell in love with the permissionlessness and wait, I can just be a miner. Nobody can tell me I can't be a miner. Okay. That's pretty cool. Wait, I can run my own node. Nobody can tell me I can't, like, I can just walk into the store and start working.
yeah, yeah. So it's yeah, like I said, it's a foreign concept to a lot of us when you first look at it, because the idea of decentralization, and for me personally, when I first started really paying attention to things, I guess it was the time when Bitcoin surpassed the price of gold.
Yep.
And then it just kept going, and that's when I really started paying attention to it. And
that was around 1100 or so, I believe, right?
Yeah, 1100, 1200, yeah, around that range. And so I thought, well, gosh, let me get in on this. Of course, when to buy a whole, and I admit I was one of those guys that was like, oh well, I thought you had to buy one Bitcoin, like you just had to, it's like buying an ounce of gold, where
right,
like, well, that's,
or like buying a stock in a company. You can't buy a tenth of a Facebook share.
Yeah, so I was one of those guys that didn't even understand that at the very beginning. And anyway, I was on a forum completely unrelated to currency or cryptocurrency in general, and was reading up about Digibyte and about all the great aspects about it, and and it was like, I forgot, it was like a few cents at the time. So I looked at it as like a second chance. We're like, okay, well, I missed the boat of getting in on Bitcoin at the early stages. Let me jump in on this thing called Digibyte.
Right, it's like seeing Uber and then Lyft comes around.
Right. So I thought, it's okay, well, this is a second chance to get in early. Again, let me get buy low, and then of course as the price goes up, now I can cash out and get my Lambo. But it was really interesting because when I first got into it, I bought it and then I sat on it and I just watched kind of price. It was kind of going down, and then I was looking into other coins, again, getting more involved with just doing my own research and looking at different companies. And this was, say, like mid 2017. So we were just like getting really early on into that pump that happened towards the end of the year. And, over time I was just looking, I was like, this is a really solid blockchain. There's nothing wrong with this coin. Why is the price so low? That was my focus, at the beginning was just price. Which, of course, again, that's why I got into it, and that's what's sexy, right? That's what people pay attention to. People from the outside, when they look at Bitcoin,
well, yeah, that's the stimulant, right? That's that main stimulant. It's the what do you want to call that? The gateway stimulant, because like everybody who looks at it, you first saw crypto at either $1 or a penny or whatever it may have been, an altcoin or Bitcoin, but when you see it gain X 10x 100x, that's where you start to get that I gotta really look into this. That's what motivates people to want more information, right? So it's not a bad thing, but it's also kind of hurting right now in a bear market as well. Like, it's hard to get people to hear your story and have that same experience when they first saw Bitcoin or Digibyte or whatever 10x higher than it is now. It's a different emotional state for a lot of those people.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because when there's that psychology that comes into play when you look at the entry price of a coin. So I remember, like, I picked up some Cardano back then, and I almost didn't get it at 12 cents just because when I first heard about it, it was like 2 cents. And I was like, oh, well, it's already up this much. Do I want to go in now? And because maybe it'll go back down to 2 or something. And of course, it eventually went up to like over $1, and now it's back even below 12 maybe now. I don't know. See, but the thing is, exactly. I'm at the point where it's like I don't even care really about the price, because I know over time that will take care of itself. Either the coin or the blockchain will succeed and the price will take care of itself, or it'll just wither away. And it was just like, oh, well, that was fun while it lasted. You know, and Cardano, you know, I mean, I just bring that up as an example. But getting back to Digibyte, you know, it was really interesting because, you know, I kept looking at it thinking, well, this is, you know, this is a really solid project, you know, and it's just, it's a shame that the marketing isn't there. You know, if it just had good marketing, then, you know, it could do well. And at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm looking for an opportunity to break into the blockchain space. I work in marketing, and once those two synapses finally connected, they're like, oh, well, I can just begin marketing for Digibyte. And getting back to the permissionless aspect of it, you know, I don't have to go to anyone at Digibyte and say, hey, is it cool if I jump in? You know, you can just do whatever you want.
Right, yeah, if I went door to door trying to sell Snickers, Snickers would probably sue my ass real fucking quick.
Yeah,
you know, because I don't have their permission to just contribute. Even though I'm a good salesman, I can go door to door and sell anything. But if it's a centralized entity, you have to ask for permission to contribute and be approved. That's like the whole hiring process of companies is like ridiculous, and that's why I love the decentralized community structure of projects. You know, even like what you did with Digibyte, you were a marketer, you got in where you fit in, and now you're earning crypto.
Yeah, you know, so it's great because it's provided a platform for me to not only learn more about blockchain and how it works, because I'm not an overly technical guy. You know, when I mean, I work a lot with computers with my work, but it's all, you know, it's more video based and application based. You get under the hood, and you know, that kind of gets beyond my capacity for understanding.
So it's like you're like a hands-on guy. That's kind of how I am. I use things. I don't know how they work, but I can really use them. I couldn't fix my microwave if it broke, but if you need popcorn or a baked potato in a couple minutes, I'm your guy.
Yeah, you know, and that was kind of my aha moment when I realized that it was okay for me to be involved and not really fully understand it, you know, because I don't have to be, you know. I've often heard the analogy of electricity, right? I don't know how electricity works. I mean, really, at the end of the day, you know, I mean, I know it has something to do with, you know, watts and volts and stuff, but I couldn't wire a building.
Well, that's how I felt when I first got into, like, you know, Bitcoin. I was like, I don't have a damn clue on how fiat works, and I've been using this shit my whole fucking life. What's stopping me from using this other form of currency I have no fucking clue about either? But if I can use it and figure out how to use it, it's the same concept. I don't know how fiat works. I don't know how Bitcoin works, but I know how to use them.
Yeah, totally. So at that point, I decided, okay, well, let me jump in and see what I can do to contribute to the community, to contribute to the marketing of the blockchain. Because, you know, again, going back to my early days, it was always just, you know, I was on the hunt for the next big thing. What's the hot ICO that's coming out? What's the best way where I can get into this and earn some more money? But the Digibyte blockchain had so much going for it, so much positive work behind it, so much great development, you know, really pioneering development. I mean, they've been the first in a lot of aspects. You know, it has a total of 5 mining algorithms, so that adds to its decentralization. You know, most blockchains only have one. They also created what is known as started out as DigiShield, which later became MultiShield, which provides real-time difficulty adjustment for the blockchain. So, and this is something, again, you know, it's completely open source, free to use, and there's over like 24 other blockchains that incorporated this technology within their blockchains, such as I know Bitcoin Cash did it early on, and also Dogecoin. Yep. I think Zcash, I mean, Monacoin, and there's been, like I said, over 24, and maybe more. Again, it's because it's open source. People can just go in and use the code. They don't have to ask for it. They don't have to make an announcement like, hey, we're using this. But again, it's just something that they've been able to develop that not only assists the Digibyte blockchain, but, you know, the entire blockchain industry as a whole, because
it contributes. It's like a cross-pollination effect that we haven't ever seen before because of copyrights, patent restrictions, regulations, and it hinders innovation. Now what we're looking at is this open source cross-pollination technological evolutionary error that never existed before. You had proprietary technologies and patents protecting everything and restricting people from innovating on top of something that's already been created. Imagine if the fucking wheel had a patent. We wouldn't have any cars, because like you would have to ask for permit. It's open source is how we're going to eventually get to that future utopian era of like Star Trek, where we don't even talk about money anymore because it just doesn't. It's not a concept that needs to be talked about.
Right. It's something that you won't be needed, because we'll have evolved to a level where we're beyond that need to create.
Well, with open source, there's really no need for currency exchange. I don't have to pay for your technology advancements. I can say thank you, taking that, and I'm going to build on top of it. And it becomes a world where it's not just like a barter economy, but it's like a contribution economy. You strive to contribute more, so it's just now a more human nature instinct to give more than you take. So we'll have more in plenty than we have in dispose. Like, even if you go to your local grocery store, they throw away 70% of the stuff on the shelf because it doesn't sell. And then we have a whole world of people that are starving. We could open source that food.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's such a terrible and inefficient model when, we have people literally starving in the streets, and then the store turns around and they just tosses food because it passed its expiration date, whether it's bad or not. It's just, past the date, toss it out. So yeah, I mean, we're going to reach this point where, like I said, it's not about, it's about adding value to your community, to those around you, and that's what's so great about decentralization, is that it returns the attention and focus to those around you. It localizes things.
Yep.
When we look at our here in the United States, the way we govern ourselves.
We segregate ourselves. That's what the problem is, right? We have like state segregation on a continent that we are a whole of a nation in a country, but we're segregated by state borders, then town borders. What blockchain and cryptocurrencies do is it globalizes the world into one community. We've never had that, that communal attachment to people in China. Because we're so detached from them, from every aspect of reality, to where they even have like the firewall of China, where they have their own like version of the internet. It's what we can do with cryptocurrencies and blockchain technologies with the permissionlessness of it is we can communitize the globe, where, even if you're around the world, we're still in the same community because we're still using the same currencies or the same technologies. And I don't know, it's like the technology we have now, what we use, like it segregated us. Like we have like Facebook, MySpace versus this and versus that. But eventually what we're seeing now is those little tribes are grouping together into one bigger tribe of a whole umbrella. Like say with the Facebook versus, Twitter, it's still under the whole umbrella of the tribe of social media.
Right.
So we're still a whole tribe under cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and get back to that global aspect. I can, like last night, I'm scrambling trying to get my notes together and get up to speed with the latest developments, because again, this is the flip side of the coin with a decentralized project, is that we don't have a marketing department that puts out a memo each week like, okay, well, here's the latest, go out and talk about this. And I was so involved with my own project for Digibyte for weeks. It was a video that I put out on Monday. So I was like, okay, I'm put that aside. Now I can go and get caught up on the latest news. And then, I get busy with work and everything.
Updates at the speed of light.
Yeah. And so, I'm on Telegram and I'm talking to guys in New Zealand and I'm talking to guys in the Netherlands, and they're giving me the latest news and sending me links and giving me notes.
Well, let's start at the beginning. Why don't you, assume I know nothing about Digibyte. Is it ASIC resistant? Does it do smart contract? What is Digibyte and how does it function?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so, there's so much awesomeness about this blockchain. It's almost difficult to know where to begin. And that's a difficult thing for whether it's a blockchain or just anything in the world, right? Because you can either do one thing really well or do a lot of things kind of, but they've found a way to do a lot of things very well. Yeah, so let me just give a little bit of background on it. So it was a blockchain that was launched back in January of 2014. So it's been around over 5 years now, which, as you know, I mean, that's like an eternity in here in crypto. And it's been a working blockchain since day one. Then they didn't have an ICO, so it's completely open source. Like I said, there's no company. There was essentially zero pre-mine. It was like 0.5%, which was just enough to kind of grease the skids there at the beginning at the launch of the blockchain. And they've continued to develop over the years, and they've had a total of 7 forks now, I believe, 4 hard forks and 3 soft forks. But they've maintained the same blockchain. A lot of times we associate forks with a new coin getting split off. But
yeah. So is there any Digibyte Cash out there?
No Digibyte Cash, no Digibyte Lite, no.
So how do they manage? How do they manage to keep that from happening?
Well, I don't know if they can keep something like that from happening. I mean, someone could go out and do that.
Roger, are you watching, Roger? Digibyte Cash coming soon.
Yeah, well, that would be interesting. But yeah, so yeah, they've done a lot of pioneering developments, as I've mentioned. They have the 5 mining algorithms, and they also have the real-time difficulty adjustment. And you mentioned ASIC resistancy. So yeah, the mining algorithms, they are both GPU and CPU friendly, and they're currently developing a new algorithm called AutoCrypt, which is really fascinating because it's an algorithm that will be able to change itself every 10 days.
Oh shit!
So it would make it completely ASIC resistant.
At least for 10 days.
At least for 10 days. That should be coming out relatively soon. Again, they like to, the saying is they want to under promise and over deliver. So they don't want to say, hey, okay, we're going to release this on this date, and then rush to try and make that date, and
Well, that's the beauty of working with a decentralized community. Again, the developers are working at their own pace, at their own time, at their own leisure. Nobody's really sitting there threatening to fire any developers if they don't hit any, promised deadlines. And that's why I think is really honest about a lot of these altcoin communities is that they don't have those deadlines. And you'll see a lot of corporatized altcoins that will do that. They'll have a lot of deadlines. Suits and ties will, put pressure on the developers, and nothing ever really happens because of that pressure. And then we see projects that don't see that much pressure, and they kind of do hit the project landmarks really quickly because of the laxation behind it. Like we've seen that even work at Google, where they have like NAT pods and shit. Like when you give developers the elbow room they need, that's where they really thrive.
Yeah, no, it affords the opportunity to really test things and flush things out and make sure there's no bugs in the system and that things are working properly. So I'm really excited about AutoCrypt, and I'm not a miner guy. It's not something I've really delved into, but again, it's something that adds to the decentralization of the blockchain, and it's a more distributed opportunity for people to participate. If I wanted to go out and mine Bitcoin right now, I probably wouldn't be very successful at it because it's to the point where you just have to really know what you're doing. You have to have very specialized equipment for it. At least in my mind. Again, I could be totally wrong.
Well, there's projects like honeyminer.com, I believe, and you can join like pools to mine, but it is really, really insignificant contributions right now. Like you said, it's become to the point where you would need a pretty big farm to make profit from mining Bitcoin. Yeah.
So I think a project like Digibyte, having those 5 mining algorithms, it provides just your kind of average Joe,
Yeah, I mean the average person now has 5 ways to just click a button and start generating income.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a development that's coming out, and also in fact they just announced this last night. I wanted to go and touch on this as well. This new technology called Dandelion. So it's going to add a privacy feature to the Digibyte blockchain. So and it's going to be different than it's not going to try and compete with like your Monero Zcash, but what it will do is provide the people using the coin to if I go into a store down the street to buy some coffee and pay for it with Digibyte, it will mitigate my physical address.
Oh,
So let's
okay.
say, hey, I'm a guy out there marketing Digibyte, and people know what I look like and know who I am. And once things start hitting the moon, you can become a target. If people know that you are involved with cryptocurrency and you're the ones that got in early, they might see you as a potential target.
Yeah, you become
And
a
so,
honeypot, man. It's scary.
yeah, and so yeah, I mean, especially for someone like myself that I put my face out there and they know what I look like, they
Well,
know
yeah,
that
I
I'm.
mean, even imagine for the business, if they're accepting Digibyte at the business, they don't want the customer just because they bought coffee to know how much money they have in their account.
Right. So what this new feature will do will make your IP address, it'll um, again, it's so new and it came out. I read about it on Twitter last night. Like, oh my God, well, I got to talk about this tomorrow. And for those who want more information, go to Medium, and Digibyte ambassador, his name's Josiah Spackman, Spackman. He wrote a great article with all of the great details on it. I've got it printed out here, but I don't want to just sit here and just read it out. But yeah, I was flipping through it last night, and it's really interesting about what it does because, like I said, it creates an environment where people can't track your physical address if they can go in and look at the IP address of the transaction. So I'm really excited about that. And we're also coming out with a new platform called Digi Assets. So within the Digibyte blockchain, it has the secondary layer, which you can put data on and essentially build a platform to create your own tokens. So it'll run a lot like, Ethereum or
Oh,
EOS.
I can make my own shitcoin on the Digibyte blockchain.
Absolutely. Yes. You will be
I
able to
done
make
this
your
on Steam. I love doing this. This is
Yeah, I started
beautiful.
with Patrick. Yeah. Yeah, you created your own coin. And yeah, you can absolutely do that. And what's exciting is that going back to the innovation of the Digibyte blockchain, they've scaled it. So every 2 years, the block size will increase, and it can currently handle 560 transactions per second, and it will double approximately every 2 years till the year 2035, which will be the last year that the last Digibyte is mined. It will be able to handle over 280,000 transactions per second. So it's scaled to handle the increase in traffic. And I haven't touched on the speed yet. This is one thing that really caught my attention about the blockchain. It has 15-second block timings compared to like some others like Bitcoin is like 10 minutes.
10 minutes, yeah.
Litecoin's about 2.5. But because of the 5 mining algorithms, each one, they all work in conjunction. I think it's like 1.5 minutes. So as each one is working, it creates a new block every 15 seconds.
Would you know how like a 51% attack would be able to be prevented with so many different ways that the network is secured? I feel like decentralizing the security of a network into that many different possibilities opens so many more like vectors for bad actors.
Well, actually, I think that the 5 mining algorithms adds to its security because you would have to obtain, I think it's over 91% of one of the algorithms, and then over about half of 2 other algorithms. So again, it's not impossible. Someone could if they really wanted to, but it just makes it that much more difficult because you would have to attack multiple algorithms. You couldn't just go after one and get a majority control of that algorithm, because you would only get 1/5 of the network. You'd have to take control of one mining algorithm and then also a majority or near majority of 2 of the other algorithms in order to gain control of, in order to get to, you're talking about the double spend aspect of control of the
Exactly.
network. So yeah, I mean, because of the 5 mining algorithms and also because of the real-time difficulty adjustment, I see Digibyte as one of the least vulnerable to the 51% attack. Not to say it can't happen, not to say it's impossible, but I think they found a really good way to mitigate that risk because of those 5 mining algorithms and because of the real-time difficulty adjustment. Like going back to Digi Assets, so again, they haven't announced a go live date, but they're working on it now. They're testing it. They have actually created tokens on that platform as part of that test. and it'll allow, you know, companies to come in and run their own token on the Digibyte blockchain, or people like yourself like, hey, I want to create a shitcoin for myself, and that's a great way to do it, because again, it's been scaled in a way that you know, Ethereum is still, I think they're trying to flesh things out with the sharding. Again, Digibyte is completely decentralized in a way that blockchain like EOS isn't.
How would the transactions work with the token I create on Digibyte? Would I use my own token as gas, or is Digibyte like the gas for the transactions of the second layer tokens?
That is an excellent question, and I don't know the answer to that, but I would like to find out that for myself.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend to the Digibyte community that they look into adopting sponsored transaction fees. I've seen it incorporated into the Waves network, and it basically, any token that you create on another network blockchain, as like, you know, ERC20 or whatever it would be considered on Digibyte. But when you send that token, the token creator or somebody could run a pool holding Digibyte, and they would charge you that secondary token to pay the Digibyte fee for you to transact it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the network fees of the Digibyte blockchain are some of the lowest in the industry. I mean, to send Digibyte, whether it's just a handful or, you know, hundreds of thousands, it's like a fraction of a cent. So the network fees of the Digibyte blockchain are low to begin with. But yeah, to your point, I would like to find out how, you know, if someone wants to create a token on using Digi assets, you know, do they pay the network fees, or how that would work? So I definitely would.
Well, so what use case or utility would you see behind that ability, that now you can create a token on top of Digibyte? What's the marketable aspect behind that, since that's your background?
Well, again, it can be used for really anything. You know, if you wanted to, you know, put music on the blockchain or create a piece of artwork, you can assign a token to it. I'm actually looking to talk to some supervisors here at work to see if there's a way where we can develop smart contracts on the Digibyte blockchain, which would allow us to create more efficiency in our workflows. Because where I work here at Fox in the honor promotions department, we're basically like a factory for content that promotes the network. And every week we're creating 100 different spots that, you know, air on the network, or they get shipped out to cable providers to get aired on cable. We also do spots for Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat, and there's a lot of human intervention involved, required to track and schedule and maintain the traffic of all these promos that are going out into the world. And of course, things are constantly evolving. You get notes from upstairs like, oh, change that swish to a swoosh and things like that. And so if we can put things on a blockchain and create smart contracts for these promos, then that would allow us to just, you know, put in the contract and say, okay, when this criteria is met, then this promo gets shipped out and can be automated in that way. But going back to other use cases, there's a company out here in Southern California called Block 30 Labs that just recently announced that they are going to be incorporating the Digibyte blockchain and Digi assets in their platform. And
that's that cross-pollination I was talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're doing some really big stuff with as far as they're looking at the Alibaba model from China, where they created, you know, it was end-to-end delivery of the user experience for their customers. You know, it was the marketplace, and then they had Alipay, and now Ali Financial, and they want to provide those types of services for digital assets on the blockchain. And they've announced that they will be using Digi assets for those services. And so it's really exciting to see you know, companies like this incorporating the blockchain for use and what they do and what their plans are. So it's really exciting time for Digibyte and for the blockchain. And there's a lot of other you know, applications that are coming out. You know, the most recent video I made was for this new app called DigiCafe, which is a point of sale application, which provides a very, it's a very simple app where, you just create the menu of all your items that you have in your store, and you just tap on them and then add them up, and it creates a QR code, which
That's
is a
awesome.
pass-through address. So, and it connects to the current market rate of Digibyte. You can add taxes if you need to, and you can send it to an external wallet. So you don't have to store anything here at the point of sale. Everything can just send it through the pass-through address, and it goes to your external wallet. And this is exciting because this is one of the things, again, when I first joined the Digibyte community to begin marketing, I'm like, hey, where's the manual for if I want to walk into the coffee shop on my corner and say, hey, I want to pay for my coffee with Digibyte, how do I approach them to incorporate that aspect into their business? And they did have a write-up, and it was really technical. I'm looking, I'm like, okay, well, I don't even understand this. How am I supposed to sell this to a guy who he's already, up to his eyeballs, as a small business owner? He doesn't want to have to try and, learn all this technical stuff or add things that are going to create more work for him. But now we've got an app that takes a lot of that work out of the equation. They can just, they've got a tablet, they just install the app, it's free to download. It does charge a fee if you use the native apps. It's like 1%, which is a lot less than, your typical credit card processor like Square, which is like 3%, plus, a per transaction fee. Yeah, I'm really excited about that app as well. And in fact, the creator of the app, his name's Adam. He's here in Southern California. He's a local guy. He's going to be speaking at Crypto Invest Summit here in Los Angeles.
Oh, cool. I'll be there.
Oh, cool, man. Well, I'm going to be there too. I got my tickets. So, yeah, he's going to be on a panel discussing mass adoption with, I think he just announced yesterday, he's going to be up there with Crystal Rose and a couple of other people as well.
Oh, cool. Sense Chat. Yeah, I've been using their chat app, man. I love the Sense Chat, man, a lot. And yeah, I'll be there. Elon Gorn invited me to be a speaker at CIS, so I'll definitely be in LA.
Awesome. Great, man. We'll definitely have to hook up, and I'll have to check you out and look and see your presentation.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what I'm going to talk about yet, but I'm pretty sure I want to talk about the importance of Silk Road, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
So yes, I mean, Silk Road played such a key role in the mass adoption of cryptocurrencies in general, with the first real use case, free open market concept. And
right.
I really do believe in the free Ross movement, and I hope that we can get enough of those signatures on the petition, to get some attention on the situation.
Yeah, it's such a shame the way they just railroaded him and the way he's just been treated with this whole thing. It's a shame. And
yeah, guys, go visit freeross.org and sign that petition. But I want to segue back to the merchants and the processing. The whole point of sales concept is really cool. I used to work at a business, and where I worked, we started accepting crypto, and we tried using like a crypto point of sales. But one of the biggest pain points is the inventory aspect. When you put your items on that point of sale system for Digibyte and you're selling things, you have to go manually to another computer and take that inventory out, put in a memo or a note as to what to transfer your auditor, and it becomes such a process. How do we solve that and help make this more of a mainstream use case?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. That's one of the questions I had for the developer when we spoke, about the video that I had made to promote it. Is how do you have the systems talk to each other, because you're still going to have people come and pay with fiat and their credit cards. And he did say that that's something that they are working on. That's on their roadmap. On their roadmap is a way to integrate the systems. So yeah, you don't have to duplicate the work. Where okay, well I did everything here. Now I need to take that information and put it over here, so everything can reconcile at the end of the day. It's another thing that they're trying to incorporate is to make the Digibyte to fiat transaction, because I know a lot of business owners, if you're into crypto, then you're cool with accepting crypto because you understand the potential behind it and the future that's behind it. But if you're just like, hey, I'm just here to run my business, and whether
same concept when a business is accepting a check. They don't want to hold on to the check. They need to turn that into cash so they can pay their suppliers.
Right. So and maybe their suppliers don't accept Digibyte at this time. So it's not as useful to them at this time.
So how do we start that
But
economy? How do we incentivize the suppliers to start accepting Digibyte? Because I feel like that's where we start to see the real the ecosystem really being built. It starts with the foundation of the wholesale suppliers, right, to the merchants, and then the merchants to the employees who become customers.
yeah, that's a key aspect to it, and I wish I had an answer for that. I probably would hopefully find a way to monetize that and be sitting on a beach somewhere once
Right,
I can.
exactly, man. There's opportunities out there for all these solutions and all the connections to
Right.
these solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's so great about this space and being in it at this particular time and just any time really, because it can just open so many doors for people that can find these solutions. And whether or not that's me or anyone, or who knows, again, I'm just in it just to kind of come along for the ride. I'm just riding the coattails of the developers who created this technology. And, I'm just playing whatever, part I can to help promote it and to get the word out there. And whether that's, coming on podcasts like yours or creating, videos on YouTube that people want to, come and watch or going to meetups and just getting the word out. It was one thing that I do want to start focusing on going forward is reaching out to other groups that are kind of on the fringe of this technology. Like going to blockchain and crypto meetups here locally are great. I've been to a few, and I wish I could go to more. There's a lot that are here that look like a lot of fun and I've been to and had a great time going to.
Well, maybe you could organize your own meetup, reach out to the Digibyte community, submit a proposal, and see if you can get decentralized funding to have your own Digibyte meetup once a month.
Well, yeah, and I can certainly do that, and people do that. They raise funds for whatever projects that they're working on, and we do have a lot of crowdfunding activities. But there's meetups that focus on, say, cybersecurity, which is a key focus of the Digibyte blockchain. Because going back to the point of sale and using Digibyte as payments, they didn't really focus on that early on. It was more of the cybersecurity aspect that the blockchain can offer. And
that's interesting. So you're incepting other meetups outside the crypto industry. These are the technological adaptations of Digibyte. So you can go to a security meetup and explain that the benefits of a blockchain security as opposed to centralized entity like Visa that gives you no security.
Right. Yeah. So yeah. With the cybersecurity aspect, because of the security of the blockchain itself, because of the applied mining algorithms, the real-time difficulty adjustment, it makes it it's an ideal blockchain for cybersecurity. And they have a new app. Well, it's called DigiID. DigiID isn't new. It's been out since last year, and it's not something that was created by Digibyte. It's something that's based off God, what was it called? The Bit 132. It's something that was built into Bitcoin, and they just expanded on it, and they incorporated it into their mobile wallets, which did come out last summer, which are really neat too, because what's significant about the Digibyte wallets is that, there's a lot of great wallets out there, but a lot of times they require you to have the latest and greatest phone, the latest, operating system. But with the Digibyte mobile wallets, they've been, they're backwards compatible with older versions of, say, Android, going back to 4.2. Which is important for developing nations, places.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has inclusion in mind. When you're thinking, newer operating system, you're really only reaching the 1% of the 1%.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if to get the iPhone X, it's not a big deal for people like you and me. I mean, aside from paying the $1,000 or whatever it is to purchase it.
Here's my $1,000 phone right here, and I'm never buying a new phone ever again. This is the Finny phone. It has a hardware wallet built right in for cold storage.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool. Yeah. So, but if you're in somewhere like in Africa or Venezuela, for example, you just don't have access to the latest and greatest toys like that, or even I've got a Galaxy.
And they're probably in the most dire position for the use case of the technology they don't have access to if it's only on the newer, latest, greatest phones and software.
Absolutely. Yeah. So with the wallets. Yeah, people have the access to the technology in a way that they might not otherwise have. And built within the wallets is DigiID. And this allows for, you can log into websites without having to use usernames or passwords. You don't have to use SMS verification. You don't have to use two-factor authentication. You just simply, it provides a QR code that you scan with your QR scanner. And it uses the encryption within the wallet to authenticate your
identity. You're signing a transaction with your private key, like just to put a hash into the blockchain saying, yeah, this is me.
Right. So you can log into a website without having to provide any of your personal information. And the website you're logging into, they don't have to store any of your personal information.
And this was built on top of basically like stolen open source code from the Bitcoin core.
Well, yeah, to a degree, I think. Yeah, I mean,
That's the beauty of open source, though. I love it.
Right, and I don't know if any other blockchains have really kind of expanded on it to the level that DigiByte has. So, but what's really significant is that alone is super cool. Like I love it, and there's a company in Belgium called Anthem ID. So they were one of the first to incorporate DigiID into their platform, but they went to the next level. Is that they've taken that technology and they've made it a part of their business. So a lot of times, going back to the challenges of a decentralized project like this, is that if a company sees the technology like, hey, this is great, we want to use it, who signs the contract? If you're a chief technology officer, if you're going to put your reputation on the line to tell your bosses, hey, we need to go in this direction. Well, you want to have someone on the other end that can provide a service level agreement. And that's what Anthem ID can do, is that they provide the service behind DigiID. And they just released this past week Chrome extensions and Firefox plugins, and also an extension for the Brave browser.
I see such a huge use case for this, and institutional means of like multi-sig approvals, right? Like you would want 5 people to say, yes, you can have access to this login, instead of just having a key card or a number, or a password for anybody to log in. You would have to go through a multi-sig of people that could sign off on this ID login.
Right. I mean, and it's not just for websites. You can use it for building entry, or you can put it on your own house. Instead of like, oh, I don't want to fumble with my keys, I just pull out my QR scanner and then put my fingerprint on the authenticate.
Yeah, I've seen so many of those Bluetooth doorknobs being sold, and there are YouTube videos of like a 5-year-old hacking it. So yeah, right. We're gonna need more. That's what kind of got me interested in the blockchain things like Ethereum, and the use cases behind smart contracts was, we're never going to get anywhere with these smart cars if they're running on Java, because a 5-year-old can hack that shit, and it is not secure. And next thing you know, you're going to have car accident assassinations, and it's going to be a nightmare. We need a more secure means of communication if we're going to have the Internet of Things running our lives, and be able to sleep behind the wheel, safely.
Definitely, yeah. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Blockchain technology can add that extra layer of security that's currently void in our current system. So yeah, I'm really excited about DigiID because it allows you can log into any website now because of those extensions. Like before, they would need to add it to their platform, which, from my understanding, it's a pretty simple thing to do. I say that simple as a person who has never done anything like that. But at the same time, it would require them to take those steps in order to do that. But now with these extensions, you don't even have to wait for those websites to incorporate DigiID into their login page. You can just open up that extension. It presents the QR code. You scan it, and you're in. And in addition to the DigiID, which is within the DigiByte mobile wallets, they've also released applications, just standalone applications that are just simply DigiID. Because I know a lot of times, if you try to talk to, newbies or no coiners, you're like, oh, well, download the wallet, and oh, don't forget to write down your seed phrase. And they're kind of like, whoa. These standalone apps provide the opportunity for them to kind of, dip their toes into the water of blockchain without having
That's really dipping their toes into the water of responsibility and personal responsibility and being your own bank.
Right. Absolutely, yeah, yeah. There's that expectation with cryptocurrency that yeah, you've got to be grown-ups about this because you can't sound like just call Visa and be like, oh, I lost my
Well,
card
that's the
or
benefits too. I can't call Visa and pretend to be you and say, "Oh, I lost this, but I have a piece of trash from your mail from the trash." And it's like the problem with 2FA is it's bullshit. 2FA is security theater. Any website that has 2FA, it's frivolous. It's just like you put another deadbolt on your front door. That's not going to stop somebody from picking the lock at all. It's just another lock.
yeah, or
I
just
could
kick it
I
in the
could go
window,
around
right?
to I lose my 2FA all the time because I break my phones all the time. All you have to do is send them an email. They send you an email and the 2FA is gone. How's that secure? It's security theater. But having access to your own private keys and being able to sign a transaction saying, "Hey, this is me. I have access to my private keys," and I think that does scare people, but the benefit of that being your own more responsible person, that secondary vulnerability, that tech factor being gone, it's such a better peace of mind. Like I said, that Bluetooth doorknob lock, that's nothing. It's worse than having the Sloman shield. You're basically inviting somebody in. They're gonna want to try it as a means of a challenge, right? Like, oh, this technology, I want to try to break it. But if you have a lock and somebody tries to pick it using the wrong private key as a signature, you could have a smart contract already triggered to call the local, I would say neighborhood watch. Most likely by the time we probably don't even have police in the future at this point because people will volunteer to earn things from smart contracts. And I did want to kind of segue into a topic somebody brought up here on the chat where it seems like Digibyte has used a lot of open source code and has used a lot of cross pollination to get to where it's at. What do you see as a contribution Digibyte could ever make to a project like Bitcoin, or do you see anything where Digibyte can compete with things like Bitcoin and Lightning?
Well, yeah. Going to the first question, as far as contributions, I mean, again, I mean, the Bitcoin developers are more than welcome to take whatever technology they want from the Digibyte developers and incorporate it into their blockchains.
So that whole signature concept, they could just steal it right back
For
for the DigiID.
Uh, yeah, I guess they could. I mean, nothing's stopping them.
Respect.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, and I think it would be great if they did, because
Same.
it would provide greater exposure to the world of this technology. And I think going back to mass adoption, I think that might be one of the tipping points is when we get to the point where your average everyday people, going back to the concept of responsibility and private keys. Once people can get to that point where like, okay, I'm ready to accept responsibility for myself, then we're going to see the rush of people come in the right way. We've seen people rush in because I want to make money. This is a get rich quick kind of a scenario. Whether because Bitcoin's going up $1,000 a week like it was back in 2017.
Right. It was hard to ignore that. It was on the forefront. The technology aspect went on the back burners for a while.
Yeah. Now get back to your second question there about Lightning. I think Digibyte can absolutely compete with that because it's already scaled and it already has those 15-second block timing. So it's already just crazy fast with the transactions. And personally, I'm not a fan of Lightning for a couple of reasons. Primarily, I guess it's a philosophical reason because, as I mentioned, I'm a huge fan of decentralization. And I feel like with the Lightning protocol, you're undecentralizing the blockchain in a way because you're taking things off of the blockchain. And I feel like there's risk involved with that. And I know that
I can respect that philosophically.
Yeah, and so there's trust issues involved with that. With things currently, the blockchain it's trustless. You trust the system. I don't have to trust you. But with Lightning, it requires trust with those who are running those channels and are running those Lightning nodes. And I'm sure everyone running a Lightning node right now is probably trustworthy because they're in it. They believe in it and they want to push it forward. But over time, and this is where we got to be very vigilant and cognizant of the fact that those who control our current monetary system and who have been control over us for millennia they're devious and they find ways to just needle their ways in. So slowly over time, they could just find ways to get control. And so I'm concerned about it in that aspect. And the other thing that concerns me with Lightning is that, again, I'm not a coder, I'm not a programmer, but I do have a lot of experience as an operational engineer with media. In one of my previous positions here at Fox, I was what they call an EIC, or engineer in charge. And my job was basically talk to our clients, find, okay, well, what do you want to do? What do you need? And then I would go and try to develop and test workflows to provide what they want. And, at the end of the day, I mean, I know media and blockchain, there's a lot of difference, but at the end of the day, it's still just data. And in my experience, whenever you have a file that's been output from a machine, if I want to send that file to you, well, that's the peer-to-peer transaction. And if that file comes out as a, say, a 1080p, 2398, 8-channel surround, DNX, OP1A, MXF, but you're like, well, hey, man, I need that as a 720p 5994 2-channel stereo H.264 and a QuickTime wrapper. Well, now I got to send that file through, we call them watch folders, and it goes through a transcoder, and that file comes out the other end. And I just kind of, and I'm sure there's people out there that are going to roast me saying, dude, you're comparing apples to oranges. And I'm probably right. But just at least in my mind, that's how I see the Lightning Network working. And I just feel like you're just, of course, going back to basic math, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line.
Right.
Well, now if you're Lightning, you're kind of going off the chain, you're going a roundabout way, and there's just a lot of things that could go wrong in that process. Now, all that being said, I hope they succeed because, if they don't, then I think it would be a black eye on the industry, and it'd be an opportunity for those in mainstream, the FUD creators to say, oh, well, see, this is why Bitcoin isn't a viable aspect, a thing that we can embrace and use every day.
I feel you. I have a love-hate with Lightning myself. It's philosophical as well. I worry about the ability to centralize the Lightning networks, and I'm not sure how it's going to play out either, but I wish it the best. And I use Lightning. It works, and it's fun to play with. It's interesting to be able to send one Satoshi and, have basically no fees and all this. But when you start to think about the ability of, the opening a channel for the sake of just, trolling all the transactions in it, just to close the channel on everybody before the transactions are resolved by the people using it as a remittance.
Yeah. So, yeah. And again, and I applaud their efforts because they're trying, they're addressing the scalability issues that are involved with Bitcoin and Litecoin. And, but again, as a Digibyte guy, I'm like, well, you don't need to, because you've got Digibyte. It has the built-in scalability. It has the speed already. The transaction fees are just practically.
I still have hopes for Bitcoin to succeed with on-chain scaling as well. It's not dire for, the secondary layer of Lightning to succeed for Bitcoin to succeed. Lightning needs to succeed for itself, but Bitcoin will succeed with or without the succession of Lightning. I think Bitcoin's on-chain transactions will be able to scale on its own, but I think having these side chains will help relieve a lot of the bandwidth in the meantime. And that's why I love altcoins. I believe that we need to relieve a lot of the bandwidth on the network until it is strong enough. Like, I love that, we have Bitcoin. It's this beautiful landmass bridge. It bridges the gap over this ocean of shit. But if we put everybody on the bridge before it's built strong enough, it's just going to break. And, altcoins are these little bridges on the sides there with their own little tolls and taxes and, blockchains. And it's helping relieve a lot of the bandwidth congestion that we would see. Everybody wants, Bitcoin to go mainstream, but if it went mainstream today with the way the blocks are, people would just have a harder time, on-ramping into this, future money, because the money of today works better for them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if that were to happen, it'd be like December 2017 on steroids, right? Where it took all day for a transaction to complete. And and fees were getting
Yeah, in
nuts.
2016, I could send Bitcoin and you'd get it in a second. It would be, but now we have more people using it. It takes a little longer. The miners are a little bit more favorable to the higher transaction fees, and your
Yeah,
transaction may get put on the back burner on a couple blocks, even though you sent me it before most of the other transactions were verified.
yeah. And so
It gets me. It gets me sometimes.
yeah,
I want to
that,
wrap
that's
up on the topic here of everything that we talked about, right? Like, what does this mean to the average person when we're talking about mainstreaming, even altcoins as it is? Like, how do we go from, the mainstream culture of Bitcoin being, oh, Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that, right? And you go to a business and you're saying, hey, Digibyte. How does the altcoin, mainstream adoption compete with Bitcoin's mainstream adoption or complement it, right? So I want to kind of wrap up on the idea here of mainstreaming altcoins and mainstreaming Bitcoin and what it means for the mainstream.
sure. Yeah. So yeah, just on that point and touching back to the discussion about Lightning is, we're not there to replace Bitcoin. We're not here to replace anyone. We're here to complement Bitcoin and all these other blockchains. I look at it, my oversimplified point of view is, Bitcoin for houses, Litecoin for cars, and Digibyte for everything else.
Okay.
Because they can all be used for those things. In fact, you can actually, I saw someone on Twitter, I think her name's Litecoin Lisa, maybe.
Yep, I know Lisa.
Yeah, I think she's the one, she went to a Subaru dealer somewhere like Indiana, and she's like, hey, they now accept Litecoin. And it's great that people are out there doing that, going to these businesses and establishing these relationships. You're probably familiar with a guy, Johnny Litecoin in New Jersey.
Oh, I know Johnny. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's all over the place. And I think he's got a merchant background in terms of,
He has like a merchant processing business for
right.
years, and he's now taking that merchant processing business and incorporating Litecoin and blockchain transactions. And you're right, it's not much of a competition more than it's a complement. Like, if you get a business to accept MasterCard, they're probably going to accept Visa because MasterCard's 5% transaction fee, Visa's 3% transaction fee. Some people use MasterCard, some people use Visa.
Right. Yeah. And so it's going to get to the point where, I think most merchants will accept almost any cryptocurrency that's still around at that time. Obviously, there's over 2,000 blockchains. Not all of them are going to survive, but all the worthy projects will survive. The ones that serve a purpose, that have use cases, will prosper. And I'm confident Digibyte will be one of those, just as I'm confident Litecoin and of course Bitcoin. I've heard people say, Bitcoin can be like the reserve currency of blockchains, and and that's just one aspect of it. Where and yeah, that is a challenge where you're trying to get your average people to embrace this technology, to embrace it as a currency, as something to use in their everyday lives. And a lot of it, it's just education. You just got to get people to wrap their head around it. And it's hard because a lot of these people they still watch mainstream news. They see the headlines on CNBC and Forbes, and it's just nothing but
Yeah, but then
misinformation.
they walk down the street to the coffee shop and they see Digibyte accepted here, and it kind of throws them off when the mainstream media is telling them it's drug money and I can use it for coffee right here. Like, what the fuck is
Yeah,
the mainstream talking about? And I like to use an analogy that you kind of touched on a little bit, where it's like we used to have, paper notes backed by gold. And this money that we use was backed by gold, and that's how I kind of look at altcoins to peg to Bitcoin. Is it's going to be backed by Bitcoin. Everything's going to be traded, paired, and people will measure their wealth in Bitcoin. But that doesn't mean that they won't use another means of transferring value and then settling back into Bitcoin later. Like, people used gold for currency until there was paper that was backed by that gold, and it was easier, more frictionless to, I didn't have to carry 10 pounds of gold to go buy a castle. I could carry one piece of paper that said it was backed by 10 pounds of gold. And that
right.
worked. And then we had more technology advancements, and they just fucked up when we created the debt-backed fiat dollar. They completely screwed up, but we now have the moment to reconcile that with this current technology and currency, and it's just blowing people's minds because it's not what they're used to. Like, everybody alive today is used to using a debt-based currency, not something that's backed by anything but belief in God.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great analogy. I like that a lot. Because and I think we're soon going to get to a point where your average people that they are going to wake up to this aspect. And I think, for example, you take Jamie Dimon, for example. You know, he was in the news
Yep.
over a year ago saying,
Great.
Bitcoin's a fraud. This is bullshit. No, stick with us. We're the professionals. We're the grown-ups here, and stay away from that. And people probably saw that and listened to it and they're like, oh, well, he's the CEO of a big bank, so obviously I'm going to listen to him. But here they are, what, a year later, and he's like, yeah, you know, we're going to create our own blockchain coin. So
they basically took Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever and made it a centralized scam and made their own shitcoin and said Bitcoin's a scam, but our coin isn't. Like, the technology that Bitcoin's built on is fucking beautiful. It's the best. I love the technology. But the currency, no, not so much. Like, you guys don't understand what you're talking about. The technology is the fucking currency.
Yeah, so that's where it's incumbent on people like us to make sure that we go out there and educate the public and say, no, he's full of shit. Stay away from him because it's just the same scam. They're just putting, you know, a different costume on it.
Yep.
You know, so come this way. This is what it's really all about. This is where the real freedom lies.
It's a shitcoin in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, it's a challenge, but it's an exciting time to be out there and talk to people about this stuff, because you know you can sense within people that they know, like, even if it's just at a subconscious level, that they know they're getting screwed. You know, they know that the system, whether it's the money itself or taxation, the way the taxes are being spent, they know they're getting screwed on some level, if not many levels. So, and that's, you know.
Well, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies have taxation with true representation. The transaction fee is the truest form of taxation that we have ever seen in ever. And I personally believe I don't want to pay any tax ever in my life unless it's a cryptocurrency transaction tax. That's it. Because it's the only one that has true representation for its costs.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it, because yeah, I mean, our current system is just so jacked. And
so how do we get mainstreamers, these no coiners or future coiners, as some like to say, you know, these future coiners, how do we on-ramp them into even, you know, say Digibyte? What's the easiest way for me to, you know, just get Digibyte and get a wallet and start using it today? What's the fastest on-ramp in, or how do I earn it and get my hands on Digibyte right now?
Well, one place you do want to go, and in fact, I've got a list of resources here. So the official website for Digibyte is digibyte.io. I think, yeah, you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. Another website has a lot of great resources, is which was created by a group called the Digibyte Awareness Team. So it's dgbat.org. They've got a lot of great info about the community and what's called digitorials and things going on with the community. But yeah, the apps are free to download. The wallets are completely free, so you can download the app. And if you want to get Digibyte, this is what's so great, is because, you know, this is a challenge for people like myself. We go out into the world, we talk to people like, hey, this is what Digibyte's all about. They're like, oh, I love it, I'm on board. How do I get some? And in the past, the story, at least here in the United States, is always along the lines of like, well, first you got to open an account on Coinbase. Then you got to buy your Bitcoin. Then you got to go to a real exchange like Bittrex, send your Bitcoin to Bittrex, and then place it, you know, and then you're kind of like, whoa, okay, this is just...
I'm already out.
Yeah, so, but now we do have fiat to Digibyte on-ramps available through VirtBase, which was recently launched, which it took me like 5 minutes to set it up. And what's cool is that, you know, you give them your wallet address and they send it directly to your wallet. It's not like Coinbase where you buy your Bitcoin and now it's on Coinbase until you move it, right? There's another new exchange called Coinbook, which also offers fiat to Digibyte availability. And also Bittrex now has, in most states, I want to say about 40 states here in the United States, including here in California, you can buy Digibyte directly with your checking account, or you can, you know, connect your checking account to your Bittrex account and buy it that way. So I think a lot of it is just, you know, educational aspects. Going back to, you know, I mentioned CISLA, that Adam Wolf, the developer of DigiCafe, is going to be a panelist on. Also, we've got 2 booths at Bitcoin Ben's meetup.
Oh, Texas. Shit, in Texas? That's dope.
Yeah. So they've got one booth dedicated specifically for Digibyte, and they've got another booth for DigiID to talk about the latest developments and apps with that. And it's great that, you know, people, you know, everywhere are coming forth to promote the blockchain. And even in the United Kingdom, there's CoinFest UK. I think we've got a booth out there as well. I say we think because I know we definitely, this guy, he rented an electronic bus. It's a literal bus with a big electronic billboard on the side, and he's going to have Digibyte everything splashing on, and they're going to park it out front of that convention.
They don't even need a booth. You don't need to even buy a ticket. Just park that shit out front. Fuck it.
You got the bus, and again, we're completely decentralized. There's no marketing department. There's really no marketing funds unless I go out to community and say, hey, here's my plan. It's going to cost some money. Can you help me pay for it? Otherwise, we're just paying for things out of our own pockets. In fact,
and this is where I see the future of the credit of crypto coming to a digital reputation. This is where, like, how do you get funding for that bus? I reach out to the Digibyte community. I say, here's my idea. Here's how much it's going to cost. They trust me. They give me the money. I do what I'm supposed to do with that funding, which then they verify. And now I have a crypto credit score, right? Like, now I don't need FICO. I don't need a bank. I can, reach out to a decentralized community, allocate funds, and contribute back to that community and bring value back to the same thing I'm using, which is the incentive, right? Nobody out in the world today is trying to shill the US dollar. It doesn't matter how many people you get to use the US dollar. It ain't going to fucking help your bank account in the least bit. It doesn't matter if, hey, you want to sign up with Wells Fargo? I got a Wells Fargo wallet. You should get a Wells Fargo. There's nothing incentivizing this. It does, but that's the difference between a inflationary and a deflationary currency, and the ability to be a part of a decentralized community, man. So I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. Anything that we need to make sure people are aware of with Digibyte? I want to make sure that we get through everything that you want to make sure we talk about. There's no rush to wrap up. If you have anything that we didn't touch on.
Yeah, let me just real quick. So, I got tons of notes here. I do also want to mention the founder of Digibyte, Jared Tate. He's got a new book coming out shortly called Blockchain 2035. So people should definitely keep an eye out for that. I'm really excited about that. I've got my pre-order in. Also, they have the first Digibyte Global Summit is coming up in Amsterdam on April 19th.
This April 19th?
Yeah.
In Amsterdam.
In Amsterdam.
Hey, Digibyte, if you want me at your conference, I will fly there. Just pay for the ticket. I'll go to your conference in Amsterdam. No questions asked. Let's do it.
That's great. I'm sure they would love to have you. I wish I could go myself. Amsterdam, it's kind of far away from Southern California. Some other things going on in the community. We still have our Venezuela initiatives in place where we've been raising to help contribute to the issues going on down there. The Digibyte ambassador Josiah Spackman, he's got a lot of great articles and updates on his Medium account. So check that out.
We got to get him on Steemit so he can start earning for those articles.
Yeah, we've touched on Steem in the past. In fact, going back to the guy in England, his name's Stephen Kindle, the guy with the electronic bus. He's a big Steem guy too. So yeah, we're looking at ways to kind of incorporate.
I know Stefan. Stephen Kindle.
Is it Stefan?
Stephen Kindle. I know him. I know that name 100%. Okay.
Yeah, so he's really big into Digibyte, and he's also really big into Steemit. And he's not only does he have the electronic bus, but he's got like the banners, and he's got all kinds of just cool stuff. That, and again, he just took the initiative. He just went out on his own and said, I believe in this so much, and I'm going to go out and do this. And it's great that people can go out and do that. And because it's such a decentralized entity, people can go out and do whatever they want, however they can, whether it's renting an electronic bus to take to a blockchain convention, or just, talk to the guy that runs a small business, the coffee shop across the street, and just be like, hey, have you ever considered accepting cryptocurrency to pay for your coffee? And that's what it's going to take, I think, for us to push the industry forward, to push Digibyte forward, because it's truly a grassroots movement. Unless someone in the community has a connection that, say, Amazon, I don't.
Steven's on Steemit, by the way. I just checked out his Twitter account. I definitely follow him on Twitter and Steemit. I knew that name.
Yeah, so yeah, he's out there doing a lot of great, and there's a lot of people in England that are contributing to the community, and a lot of people all over the world. You mentioned the Global Summit in the Netherlands coming up. I mean, it's a huge following of Digibyte in the Netherlands, and and all over the world. You know, if you go on Twitter, there's like a Digibyte Africa account, Digibyte Japan, Digibyte Korea. You know, people that are Digibyte India, Digibyte Turkey. You know, and these are accounts specifically to promote Digibyte within, you know, their own, you know, countries, their own, you know, localities. So it's just a beautiful thing to watch, just to see things grow. And that's been what's so great about, you know, we've been in this bear market for over 12 months now, and the amount of involvement from the community is at a level that I don't think has been there before, which I think is very significant in that, you know, here we are, you know, it's hard to get people excited when your coin is down 80% when you entered into it, right?
And they're probably the same people that said, if it ever goes down, that's when I'll buy in. And now it's where they wanted to buy back in and they're kind of turned off. It's human error, man. Everything, Digibyte, Bitcoin, whatever, could be the best, perfectest thing, and we still have the human element that, you know, has to choose to use this opt-in decentralized technology. We can't force anybody to use the best things. They're gonna sometimes choose to use Ripple, you know. Sometimes they're gonna choose to use the worst or dumbest things.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Don't. Yeah. But yeah, going back to that point. About the community. Also, it's just the amount of development, you know, that we discussed. You know, talking about the new mining algorithms in AutoCrypt, the Digi Assets, the new apps with Digi ID, you know, the wallets that got released. We had a one-click miner that came out last year. So there's so much that's going on behind the scenes, and this is, you know, this is where the magic happens. This is where, when the bull run does kick up again, all these things will be in place that will take it to the next level. And it's not just Digibyte. I know there's all kinds of projects out there that are moving things forward in a way that it's going to make things really exciting once that bull run starts, and we'll be ready for it. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep. And guys, when you're looking at, you know, thinking about, you know, being stuck down that Bitcoin maximalist wormhole, kind of realize that, you know, PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App don't look at each other as competition at all. You know, they're all looking at each other for how they solve their own problems, and when they solve a problem, they steal the solution, and that's the, you know, the hindrance in closed source technology advancements as to open source technology advancements. So the better Digibyte does, the better that Bitcoin can do. Obviously, it's open source. It could steal the best things from each other and incorporate that. And as we support every currency and every technology innovating and actually doing shit today, that's the best that we can do. You know, a lot of people want to, you know, shit on, you know, altcoins and you know, everything's a shitcoin, but there's a difference between a shitcoin and an altcoin, and shitcoins have no use, have no utility, have no purpose. You know, that's Ripple, that's BitConnect, and that's Bcash, all shitcoins. But there are altcoins out there that are actually doing things to progress industries as a whole. Litecoin, Digibyte, Ethereum, Tron, whatever. They're, like them or hate them, they're actually building things that are going to be the foundationary blocks to build the stability that we need to bring all the masses onto this bridge. So again, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can people find you and get in touch with you on the internet? I know you got a YouTube channel and you're on Twitter. Show yourself, man. Show yourself. You're your own shitcoin. You forgot to show yourself.
Oh, right. So, my YouTube channel, it's Digibyte SoCal. I've got just a few videos up there. My latest video is what I would call, again, a promo commercial of the DigiCafe app. I'm on Twitter, just at DGB SoCal. I'm also on Telegram, the same handle, DGB SoCal. And also just a quick show for other YouTubers in the Digibyte community, because again, you know, we all do our own thing, but we all complement each other in nice ways. Because one is Amon Unlimited. He does these amazing videos. They're very slick, very well produced, and but they're really short and sweet. They're like the entry point for your future coiners, if you will, because they're like, it's like 30 seconds, a minute long, but they look really great and have a really concise message. And I would say my videos kind of fall along that same kind of category. Just it's more of a commercial sell. Like, I'm here to sell you on this app. I'm here to sell you on Digibyte. I'm going to tell you all the awesome things about it and why you need to get in on it. There's another one called Crypto Currently, all one word. He's more of the I don't know if he does a daily video. He does many per week, but he's more of your latest announcements, your latest breaking news. In fact, his are the videos I was watching last night as I was cramming to get up to speed on all the latest developments within Digibyte. There's another guy named Kyle. He goes by the handle Double T. He's got a channel. He does a lot of great stuff, and he's a truck driver. So he posts videos from the road, and he has a great insight. And he does a lot of really in-depth investigative type stuff, which is really neat to see, as far as like other coins and other exchanges. And there's another guy named Digibyte Dan who does more of kind of like a daily vlogging type, more kind of philosophical market analyst and stuff. And I think we all kind of complement each other very well. For example, my video I did on DigiCafe was like really fast. Again, it's like, I'm there to tell a very specific message in a very specific way, and I want to do it in a way that a certain audience can absorb in a way that's familiar to them. And then he can come along a couple days later and say, okay, let's just slow things down because Mike talks really fast. His video moves really fast, and let's just really kind of dive into the application and what it really means. So and of course, going back to Josiah, he has his own channel too. I think it's just Josiah Spagman, but what's great about him is that he's very technically minded. He can talk about things in a way that I can never discuss. I mean, whether it's like the mining and hash rates and a lot of math, that's why I got into television, because I hate math, even though I still have to use it regardless. It's true what they say. It's that math is the one thing you're going to need to use the rest of your life.
Yep.
But it's a great time to be involved with Digibyte. Again, it's completely open source. Don't feel like, oh, hey, Mike's is already out there, doing podcasts. He's out there making videos. There's room for everyone. We all have our own audience to speak to at different levels, depending on where the audience is in their own journey within this blockchain industry. Because people are, coming in, if this is your first time getting into cryptocurrency, a video like this probably isn't for you, because we've covered a lot of things that are just like, well, what does that even mean? But if you watch, just a short little 30-second, 1-minute video, such as like, that Amon Unlimited created, where you're like, oh, okay, well, I can relate to that, So there's room for everyone, whether it's on YouTube or any other of these platforms.
I'm sure we made a couple 2-minute soundbite clips people could steal from the YouTube video and turn into those little tidbits, like Joe Rogan podcast clip style. I just don't have anybody out there being my Jamie yet, but somebody's going to start clipping these. We need somebody to start clipping sound bites from this podcast.
Well, maybe I could be that guy, because that's a thing that, in fact, going back, because when I mentioned my YouTube channel, I said, yeah, I've got a few videos. That's true. I only have a few videos, and I've had it up for almost a year now. I'm very proud of the videos I made. They were really production intensive. That's why it takes a long time to produce them. But what is very effective, I found, is to take like you said, it's like a little snippet. Like, for example, this got a lot of traction on Twitter because I gave a presentation to the Trojan Blockchain Society at the University of Southern California last fall. I took my camera, they let me record it, I put it up on YouTube. Again, the whole thing, the presentation plus Q&A was like an hour. Well, that's a long time for someone to sit through for an hour. But I just took like this one 20-second clip and created a Twitter vid and uploaded it to Twitter, and people go nuts over it.
Yep.
Because it's a way to really, you can get that specific message across in a very effective manner, in a way that can be shared, on a platform like Twitter. So yeah, man, if that's something that you're interested in, if you want to send me clips, say, hey, here's the link to this YouTube video at 10 minutes in to 11 minutes in, I said something so profound, it just makes my head spin. I would love to have a clip of that in order to upload it to Twitter.
Well, hey, everybody watching should comment a timestamp that they want clipped. So people, if you're watching this, comment the timestamp to the sound bites you think were most interesting or informative, and we can try to make those out there and try to spread the message and see how it competes with this, which has turned into now an 1.5-hour podcast. I'm sure we have a ton of those little soundbite clips, so let's see what the community thinks and timestamp, and we can try to make that happen. And yeah, okay. I guess I'll wrap up here, Mike, if that's all right.
Yeah, totally, man. I lost track of time. I'm actually technically, I don't even say anything. I'm at work right now because I'm working today. My shift was supposed to start at 9, and I had so much fun doing this. I just didn't want to stop. And it's
same
to be here, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to come here. And I want to apologize to you too. I know we were originally scheduled to do this a couple of weeks ago, and I had to reschedule it with you at the 11th hour because my wife came down with the flu, and of course I got it 5 minutes later.
I'm
So,
just happy
thank
we
you.
finally got around to doing this, man. It was a good time, and I learned a lot about Digibyte. I'll be honest, as I said in the chat, I don't hold any Digi, but that doesn't mean I don't, appreciate the contributions, and I don't appreciate the technology that, Digibyte is, but I definitely am now more interested. And going through the website, I saw I can actually just start mining it with my computer, so I can get my hands on it for basically free. So I think I might look a little bit more into Digibyte. So I appreciate your time and
Well,
you coming on.
then, well, that's awesome. Thank you for looking into it and giving us this platform to promote it. Again, this is what it's all about. And thank you for all you do for the crypto space in general, man, because you're living it, you're being it, and you're out there doing it.
Thank you.
So much respect to you, my friend, and best of luck to everything. And yeah, we'll be in touch afterwards to see if we can get some of these Twitter vids
Yeah, for
crunched out
sure,
and
man.
uploaded, and I'll let you know how that goes.
All right, guys. So everybody watching, if you could do me a favor and just hit that share button, share this on your social media, spread the word. This is live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Steemit, DLive, and BitTube right now. So go to your favorite social media platform and give it an upvote, give it a share, drop a comment. Let me know what you think about Digibyte. Let me know what your thoughts are, and yeah, I just want to keep the conversation going in the comments section. This isn't a closed conversation. The chat is right there in the video. So it's not just us. You are part of the conversation, and I want to invite you to keep that conversation going. So thank you all. Don't forget, pound that thumbs up button, click subscribe, flick the alert bell if you're on YouTube, and have a day.